You don't need them yet. You sign it.
See anything?
Plenty of time to write.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have. No, I didn't.
A moment.
Yeah. No. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Is it full screen?
No, yeah, she said me no.
Is it full screen?
Under there.
Is
Thanks
it
for
full?
Thanks for taking me the other day.
No, we've got now talking to the kids. People who are on.
They're all new already.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I read my that is enough room in all of them.
Is that any better? You still hear it okay?
No.
My legs were.
There's one, I would say we need to.
No, it takes so much time. This guy. It's a good team of work. Yeah, if I didn't have a 5-year-old, I'd probably run. Oh, that takes time too.
Stole from you. This is your car. You wear this every day. Thank you. Well, I picked it out. I pick out my little one, unless I do.
That's like.
This is good stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
This is.
The big trucks come on. I was driving. Yeah, of course.
I won't say it inside. Those are good.
I think we need to go down.
All right, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
All right, we got one. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Laughing me here at
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Okay.
We'd like to welcome everybody for coming out tonight. It's an important discussion that we're gonna have. Before we get started and get into the programming, we wanted to do a quick introduction ourselves and who we are and what we've been up to here for the last couple months and getting to know each other.
louder?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, can't hear you. Cheap seats back here, we can't hear you. Sit down.
All right, I'm gonna sit.
Oh, sit.
All right. All right. So we're gonna do quick introductions and I'll walk us through who we all are up here and what we've been tasked with. And then I'll turn it over to Alexandra and she'll talk a little bit more about some of our objectives, and then we'll turn it over to Joe. And we've got a pretty good agenda tonight. We're excited to hear from y'all and talk about our town. So my name is Alec Ross. I'm part of the group that was selected to represent the Master Planning Advisory Group for the CROA team. My background is in construction project management. I've been doing that for over 20 years and currently at Disney. To the right of me is Alexandra Laporta. She's a urban designer, right? And she's got a lot of master planning experience. And then Krista is next to her. She's our data analytics and keeps us on top of crunching numbers. Scott to the right of her, history and background in logistics. Then we have Jim. Jim next to him, he's our resident finance and CFO. Paul, who's got a long career in education. Mark, who's professional architect. Joanna, who is also in finance. And Joe at the end, who has industry experience with global outreach for IBM. So this is your group. Oh, Marco's to my left. So Marco has a pretty prominent role in the community with youth sports and a legal background. So this is your group. We met each other just a handful of months ago. I don't think if any of us knew each other, we hadn't worked together professionally. So we went through the storming, forming, norming, right? Getting to know each other and getting some cadence and some rhythm with what it was that we were tasked to do. So we're excited to have the opportunity tonight and to represent you all looking at the master plan for the community.
Yeah, so welcome. Thank you so much for coming. We're really excited to have this opportunity to have this conversation with you. Really one of our biggest objectives is to learn how to move whatever ideas come out of our process tonight, our survey, ideas that have come in the past, and be able to move it forward. So really have that's implementable, that has some actions and measurable actions. So it's not just stuck on a shelf somewhere. So I really am excited about the conversation we'll have tonight. We'll be able to identify problems because we know problems exist. There's barriers, but then how do we move past those? We recognize those problems, and then how do we move forward and to together come up with solutions and ideas? And that's how we'll break up. And Krista will talk about how we're breaking up our conversation tonight, but it's really with that in mind, to move the conversation forward, to identify problems, and then what are our solutions together that we can work and help you and be a voice for you in this process. And then Joe will give an overview of, there's some slides of just like what we've discussed these past few months, what we've reviewed. There's a lot of history and documentation that we had to kind of come to digest. And so Joe is going to walk us through that.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, everybody. Mike, can you hear me okay in the back?
No.
You might have to bring it closer to you.
How about now?
No.
You're too tall, Joe.
All right, how about now? Is this okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, listen, thanks for joining us this evening. Our objective is simple. If you go to the first chart, please. Is really to develop a comprehensive and strategic master plan for the for the town of Celebration, including its amenities, its parks, and its facilities. And one of the key focuses is developing a plan for Townhall. As those of you who don't know, you can look behind the black curtains and you can see that it's in dire need of some remediation, significant remediation. So it's to develop a plan for that. It's to ensure that whatever we come up with, that there's an adequate funding plan and that everybody knows and understands and agrees with the cost of these recommendations. And then lastly, it's to work closely with our partners, whether or not it's CDD, whether or not it's Osceola County Schools, Osceola County, and others, to ensure that not only are we collaborating, but we're optimizing on a solution. Because as we sit here, some of the available land behind us is owned by the school. And as you may or may not be aware, we're really, despite this large, beautiful community, we are space constrained in terms of, green space to put in new facilities. So before I go to the next chart, so why is it important to ensure we have a good comprehensive community plan? One, it's to ensure our future growth is understood. It meets the values of what we want in the community based on not only prior surveys, but community input from all of you. It's based on data. It really gives us a long-term vision as to where we want to be for a community, as opposed to what might be in vogue today or what a certain subset of the community may want. That we can all see this. It's written down and understand.
Okay,
Not all.
set timer for 90 seconds.
I think I get more than 90 seconds. They allotted me.
I think he was talking to Alexa.
Egg timer. Anyway, I do like to talk a lot, so I will try to be brief. But I think it's important for you all to understand the foundation of what we're trying to do. So with that, we go to the next slide, please. We've already introduced ourselves. We do have a nice cross-functional group of people who are part of this master planning group. There's 7 members that are what we say kind of at large, and then there's representatives from the various groups in town, as you can see on the right chart. And then we have way in the back, we have Jared and Celia, who are our CROA board liaisons. So we've been working together over the last 90+ days. And now it comes time for the important part, which is getting community input and then doing a lot of the research and analysis to come up with the plan. Next page, please. So this is just a very high level view of the schedule for the master planning group. Starting today with this meeting will be the first of several activities we will do to ensure community input. Approximately 30 days from now, we'll go to the next phase of community input, which is through a community survey that we will send out for reference. The last time, 5 years ago, we did a community survey. We had over 700, well, not over, we had 769 people respond. That's a great, input. We've got probably today 50 people here. We get another 720 people. And then this way we can really get some good input as to what all of you want, our town to be like, what projects, etc. Then we'll spend the next 60 days in April and in May analyzing all the data and coming up with the first pass at this plan, which will then come back and present to all of you in the June timeframe. And after getting input from the community and going through some additional iterations, it will be published in the July timeframe.
Hey, quick question. On the community survey, have you guys already put that survey together?
No.
No, it's
I think part of this discussion will help inform
Yeah. Because I think for the data person,
our focus.
it's going to be really important that survey is crafted and the questions are such that you get the right kind of data, right?
Yeah.
I think there have been previous surveys that have been submitted to the community. I'm not necessarily sure that some of those questions were really probe deep enough to really get the kinds of data that you're going to need. So I would think that community survey is going to be vitally important in terms of the types
Yes.
of questions you ask.
It absolutely will. I'm gonna ask that we wait on the questions. You guys are gonna have a whole lot of time to talk. Let's get through this stuff so that we can get you to the point where you get to talk.
but it just to tell you how important it is. We haven't yet come up with the questions because we've had a lot of discussions as to what the questions are. We don't want the questions to be leading.
Yeah.
While it's important to know, if you go back and look at the last survey, I believe it was, I don't want to get this wrong, 19 questions, but maybe half of them were on, are you male or female? And it's important, but it really, and your age is important and all that stuff. But more detail as to what would you like to see if we were to do a community center, what are the amenities, and really getting into the details. So go to the next slide, please. So what are the considerations? And I've mentioned several of these that we will analyze to come up with a community plan. Starting at the top is the community meetings. There'll be at least 2, perhaps 3 community meetings. There'll be the survey that we just discussed. So I'm going from the top, from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And then over the next 2 slides, I want to talk about the next 2 inputs, which, as Alexandra mentioned, there's been a lot of work done. A lot of work done over the last 14 years as to what master plan should look like, surveys, etc. I'm going to get into that in a little bit more detail, just so you understand the history. So there's a lot of historical information there. We also have some recent work that was done that compares Celebration to other communities of our size. In addition to some local ones like Baldwin Park, it just says for a community of 10 to 15,000 people, how many basketball courts should you have? How many swimming pools should you have? It's just one more piece of data. Just one more piece of data for us to look at. Next is very important at the bottom at 6 o'clock. You can see, if you can read it, probably not the back, site assessments. This team here spent a lot of time going around town in a very organized way with some very knowledgeable people on the staff here in this building, taking us into every bathroom, into every storage closet. You'd be surprised. I knew this number. I think we hit 84 buildings. Now, some of them are really, really small, some very big, but just to understand the footprint. And I'll talk more about what we're doing with that data coming up. Next, moving on over to 7 o'clock on the dial is funding. What we all care about, we all care about money, especially those of us who are recently retired on a fixed income. So we care about money. There's different ways, there's different places where these activities would get funding from. There's operating funds, there's reserve funds, there's capital reserve funds. And so we've got to look at all of those and understand, are they fully funded? What will be the future contributions before you get into any of the more emotional items like raising homeowner fees, etc. So there's these different areas that need to be analyzed so that we can then have a constructive conversation on, okay, if you want to spend this amount of money, you get this. If we want to spend this amount of money, increase reserves, do whatever, so we can understand the funding. Because otherwise, in the perfect world, I want everything, right? Okay, and so we just have to understand that. Some of these items to fix and remediate are very visible and very easy and relatively cheap to fix. Some of the items that we hit in the site assessment, and some of the maintenance / small improvement items. Moving to the next circle. I used to call it vacant space because that's an IBM term, but now I changed it. So we pointed out what's vacant space? Available space. That just means, when you look, and I'm not going to try to understand, let alone communicate to you. So if you go to certain parts of town, the first 20 feet may be owned by Crowa, and the next 20 feet may be owned by CBD. I'm exaggerating, but you go up to North Village, those different green were owned by different groups of people. So if you say, well, why don't we put something here? It's just not that simple. So we need to understand, first of all, who owns what, and then working together if we want to do something that's on multiple pieces of land owned by multiple people. How do we do that? And then, as I said, parking. And then as Mark reminds me of the real estate guy who used to work for me. Every time we wanted to build, he says, parking. And that's whether or not you're doing an urban project in a downtown area people always tell you first thing you do is make sure you have adequate parking. And we know we're parking constrained already in many parts of the town, especially in the downtown area. So if you were going to put up even something small as an additional building, you have to ensure you've got adequate additional parking spaces. Forget about solving any current problems. So it's not just the space, it's the space plus parking. Got to keep that in mind. And then lastly, as I mentioned, collaborating with our partners, especially with our sister committee at the CBD, as they are looking at also making some enhancements and some projects and proposals to help the community at large. Next slide, please. So documents reviewed. I'm a finance guy. I decided to go through some statistics here just to torture you just a little bit, so I'll apologize in advance. If you look through, starting back in 2010, the new celebration report, you can see that about every 5 years, 2014 was the first significant master plan that was done, and then another one in 2019, another one in 2021. So all three of those documents were done by third-party companies, went out and spent a bunch of money, and they did a really nice work. You can see one, I can show you where it is somewhere probably on a website, but I've read them all, unfortunately, too many times. And they're very good. So let's just spend a minute. So we got 14, 19, 2021. Those reports vary. The smallest one is 33 pages, the largest one is 78 pages. If you add up all the projects that were recommended in those last three studies, it's almost 200 projects. 200 projects. So I got an idea. You don't have an idea. There are no more new ideas. They're in one of those three documents. Name it. They're all there. And some, going back, who even knew, 2014 that pickleball was a sport. It was in the 2014 one. So they're all there. All the ideas are there. So the question we now have is, if we go back and look at how well did we do with those ideas? Well, in 2014, we did pretty good for the short-term projects. That was a dog park and developing the civic corridor, putting the fields that are up there, putting some lights on the tennis courts. You look at the first 19 projects, we did most of them. Anything post 2018, we didn't do many of them at all. And without getting into all the details, we go to the 2019 study, there were 13 major projects. We didn't do any of them. So that's why we decided we don't need to go spend more money to go get somebody gets back on the same list, right? We've done that. So now let's take that list. Let's get some more input. Let's really prioritize it. And then let's put it in some buckets of some quick hitters that we can do in the short term. Some are maintenance that you'll see in a minute will get referred to Crow and we won't do, but some will be some short-term projects and then some longer-term projects that we would recommend once we understood funding and other key items. Next slide, please. Just for reference, since I mentioned those past studies that were done, if you look at the 2019 survey, it highlighted the need for a community center. This was based upon the feedback of the 769 people. Number one priority was community center, art center, adult senior center, indoor gym, splash pads, pickleball courts. So we know that was a list. And while we've had people come and leave, that those were the priorities 5 years ago, and now we'll get a new view of that. We know when we look at this presentation, this study that was done against national standards, we know we're short against those national standards for basketball courts. We have one in town. Based upon our population, we should probably have three. We don't have any pickleball courts. Don't have a skate park. We don't have a community center, and we're short on baseball fields. What's not on here, and I'm sorry, so you talk about the good stuff. We do have more pools than an average community. But again, that's slightly misleading because, if you're living in Minnesota, you probably don't need as many pools as we have here. But pools, tennis courts, and multi-purpose fields were on the positive side of the ledger. So these are, again, if without getting any community input, if we skip that phase, we would know this would be a list of things. But we're just going to park this to the side because that's historical information and now we want to get current information. So that's, by the way, just a reference point, a footnote at the bottom. Just as we looked at the last survey, 51% of the people said, I don't want anything new. Can you just fix what we have? And I think today, if we ask that same question, I'm guessing 51%, but we're not going to guess. We're going to use facts. But anyway, if you go to the next slide, please. So this is a real hard chart to read, and this is a result of the site visits that we took throughout the entire community, where we went to every area and looked at what could we do with the, so skip Town Hall and Heritage Hall on the left. On the right side, just going to existing facilities, whether or not it's renovating or updating bathrooms, etc. So there's 14 items on this page. Read the print, it's 14 items. 6 of them are relating to bathrooms, okay, where they're just, many of those bathrooms, as I think somebody pointed out here earlier tonight, have not been renovated, touched, or improved, with the exception perhaps of some paint in the last 20 years. So we know there's some items there. Those are relatively cheap. If it's a maintenance item that we came up with, we're not going to do maintenance, but we're going to refer to our friends, to Lauren and others, to do. Because we had some discussion should include maintenance, so won't do maintenance items, but we'll do some short-term items like refurbishing storage rooms. 4 of the items on this list relate to pools and work that needs to be done to the pools to either update them or get them some significant remediation that's needed. And then the remaining projects such as Town Hall, perhaps repurposing Heritage Hall. And then at the bottom, what's not included, because this labeled is what to do for existing amenities. This doesn't have additional amenities that we would consider, such as pickleball, skate park, senior citizen, and basketball. We have 1, so it could be up top, it's down below. So anyway, the point here is just based upon what we've seen and what we know, we have a starter list. And then this will be one more piece of information that we will use after we get back feedback from the community. We go to the next slide, please. So we're lucky we've got Mark. Mark is an accomplished architect, and he's done a really good piece of work. Are we paying you, Mark?
No.
I know a little bit about building, and if we were paying, it'd be a lot of money for what he's done so far. And so we're thankful to him and others who have done lots of work. I don't mean to single them out, but some of the chart at the Town Hall, I am. That's what makes our community great, is that we had to go out and hire, it would be $50,000 or $100,000, probably just for what he's done so far. And so at some point, we'll probably have to bring people in. Mark's going to put the hard hat on. Mark's saying 50,000 is not enough. A little lower. All right, well, whatever.
This part was easy.
This part was easy. But anyway, it's saying, okay, so what for Town Hall here, again, when you're done here, you have it, look behind the screens, because I took a tour of every inch of this building, and there's literally water. When it rains, it just comes right in, along with frogs, snakes. And I spoke to lakes, snakes just come, he literally did. Anyway, this building either needs some remediation, or it needs to be mothballed, or it needs to be, everybody's got a view. Let's knock it down, let's build a new one. We'll figure that out. But the first step is you've got to go out and get a quote as to with a full set of plans as to what are the potential options. So we're just in the, again, data gathering stage here. But the result would be when we're done is that we would understand the true cost to renovate this building, and we'd have a full set of documents that would help us then go to the next step. So, so that's it for that. So my last slide, second to the last slide. So where are we? So we're going to, as I said, over the next couple of months, we've got lots of work to do. we're gonna refer the maintenance items, to PROA. We're gonna take a really hard look at those 14 projects that are short-term. And then is the hard part, is for those bigger items, you know, such as, a community center, such as the renovation, of Town Hall, such as do we build something for our teens who currently don't have much of anything, to do, basketball courts. So we got to look at all those projects, and that again, you know, the issue is you get, you know, 8 people in a room, and you know, you probably got 3 different views, right? So, and you do the same in the community. So it's not going to be easy, and I'm sure we'll get, you know, lots of different input from the community. And our goal will be, after listening to all of that, to try to put together a plan that is, you know, in the best needs of the community based on the majority of the people want. We talked about the key challenges, you know, money. It's always about money. So we've got to figure out the best ways to invest in our community, to keep the values of our community. Because if we don't invest, you know, eventually there's a point where, you know, it starts to affect, you know, the community, our property values, etc. You know, space, including parking space, we talked about our ability to execute. One of the things that I know I'm worried about is, you know, if you take these projects and say we're going to do 7 of them, that means you've got to have 7 project managers. That means you've got to have 7 people who are currently fully employed to go manage these projects. And we know all too well, I won't name any of them, but sometimes it's difficult, as we know in the community, to get things done in a timely manner for a variety of reasons. Some controllable, some not controllable. It's just difficult. So we have to make sure that whatever we put, not only can we afford it, but can we, in a timely manner, under budget, execute to that, right? And that takes a certain set of project management skills. And then we have to ensure that, you know, how do you prioritize new projects with fixing this building? And that, again, we've got some different views, but we're going to work through that. So that's basically what this team has been working on and what we'll continue to work on. I'm going to turn it over to just and do have one more slide. So the key purpose, now that we've all had a chance to understand a little bit of the background of what we want to accomplish, is we want to hear your ideas, right? And we want to hear your ideas. Any ideas you have. But Chris has got a very structured and organized way we want to go about the next 90 minutes. So we would encourage you, I know some of you, you know, have other priorities tonight, but if you could stay, please give us your ideas. What does a community and civic center mean to you? What's the long-term master plan look like? You know, and one of the concerns we have is once we dissolve, you know, how do we ensure that some of us or some organization continues to keep the long-term vision and working with CROA to ensure execution. So with that, I'd like to thank you all very much, and I'll turn it back over to Krista.
Yeah, and I can give you. Thank you, Joe. So now next is the exciting part, and where we're gonna stop talking and we're gonna hear what everyone here has to say. So Lauren's gonna bring out my slides. I'm gonna go ahead and skip to the next one. We have 2 primary activities that are gonna happen today. You should have received a number 1 through 4. If you have not, please come see me when we dismiss, and we'll get you set up for a number. What's gonna happen is there's 3 different question tables. We've got one that's really around the community center, one that's what does that master planning community or master planning committee look like? And the other is more around the communication, decision making, and measuring our success. Those will be the 3 different conversations that you'll have tonight. The other activity is a village specific activity. So over here, you'll see once we dismiss, we're all going to get out of the way. There's some snacks and you can have, we'll have this area over here. So if there's something from a specific village, like we know that each village has its own needs. And what someone in North Village wants may differ from what someone in Island Village wants and so on and so forth. So for your ideas, for your specific villages or a village that you're used to going to and you see a need, this is where you can take those post-its, put them up there. If there's one already up there that has your idea, put yours up there too, because that tells us that there's more than one person interested in it. So you'll see a whole bunch of post-its and markers over by the door. You'll have time allocated to spend time there. Let's see. So if you want to go to the next one, next slide. So yeah, so it's kind of an on your own activity. Where's Marco? Marco will be over here helping out. If you have questions or you're not sure where to put something, there is also just another category over there. So if your village isn't included in one of those, you can use that. And like I said, if anyone's already added your idea, add it again, especially if it's important to you. I'm gonna go to the next one. So as far as the conversations go, we'll rotate through and we'll post what those rotations are. The number that you received will determine where you go. There are 3 different questions. So you'll either get to talk to Mark and Joanna about a community center, Alexandra and Jim about decision-making communication, or me and Scott about what the master planning committee looks like. You'll have 10 minutes for each of those discussions. You'll be writing your ideas, your thoughts on Post-its. We can stick them up there for you. You can stick them up yourself, however you want to do that. But make sure your thoughts and ideas get captured there. Then we'll have Jared's going to be keeping us honest on time and telling us when it's time to move. Once he says it's time to move, we'll have 5 minutes to rotate and then start those next set of conversations. The next one. And in addition to that, our friends online, we don't want them to miss out on the Post-it fund. So they will also be participating in a breakout session where they'll be doing their own Post-it activity that's very similar to what you'll see here. They'll be walking through. You have 15 minutes for discussion. Just fill out a little extra time for the technology. And you'll be using the whiteboard feature and putting your own Post-its on those boards as well. They'll have the 3 questions plus the village specific activity. So with that, I think if it didn't skip forward, we're going to skip up to slide 23. So can you keep going until it says board group? We didn't know how many people were going to come, so we planned multiple scenarios. Here we go. So, and you can click the next one more, because it should pop up. There you go. So for the first activity, look at your number. If you're group 1, you're going to go chat with Alexandra and Jim. If you're group 2, you'll go to table E. So the letter corresponds to the table. You'll see them above the tables in the back. Group 3, we'll talk about master planning committee. In group 4, you're going to have a chance to just kind of come over here and start these Post-its up. After the 10 minutes, we'll switch to the next group. And I think with that, unless anybody else has anything to add, we will not come back as a large group together. So once you feel you've given us all the input you want or need to, feel free to leave. And feel free, if you think of an idea later, feel free to go back and stick a Post-it during the changeover time. So if you're in between and you're like, oh, I really wish I would have said that for the master planning committee, write it on a Post-it and go stick it on before you leave. So this is about hearing from you and making sure that we capture everything from all of you.
What if you wake up the next morning and you got an idea?
So there will be
Sorry.
more.
Sorry, that's it. Too late.
We'll be sending out additional ways, and like everyone else has said, this is just this first step in gathering input. There will be more opportunities, and we'll make sure that obviously thank you all for coming, because there are a lot of you here, but this is in no way all of our community. So we do want to make sure we're reaching as many people as we can. And with that, unless anyone else has anything, we'll leave this up here. You'll see a 2-minute warning up here as well when it's 2 minutes to go before your discussion's over. And then you'll see a 1 minute, plus Jared's going to yell at us all. And then we'll switch groups. And then it'll display again up here where your next group is. So anybody got anything else?
Can you mention the numbers again? Because a lot of people came in after.
Oh, numbers. If you didn't get a number, come see me. Come right up here first, and then we will get you a number.
Want us to get them out for you?
All right. Good stuff. I think that's good. And then online folks, Jose and Number. He doesn't need a number.
Yeah, yes. Nobody else can still say.
Perfect, thank you.
That's probably me.
Basketball. Baseball and basketball, working his way down the amenity. Yeah, yeah.
Community center, but I guess. There you go. Okay, 'cause you're here for the So I'm gonna let that here, so I'm gonna start bringing it up. Good to see you.
That's very good.
Yeah.
He's only in the house. So.
You're the one?
He was already here.
Now I
Which is
got
different.
it.
Figured out how to do both.
Two places at one time?
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, he's great.
Online.
Oh, yes.
Doing pretty good.
It is. Only.
Feedback on this.
I want
Marshall this.
I want to come later and talk about a plan with the committee. I did it. Yeah. Okay, those are the plans for this year. So 130 homes sold this year. And I have we brought in. We did it the other way. They didn't bring in that much. They have to see that. So I would have to go talk to CCC. And.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way. It needs to change. Why not?
But the problem is, so every place.
Yep.
So it's- Yeah, that's like this. So there's East Village. Spring Lake.
Well, I mean, the big ones are already there. You got Lakeside, you got Heritage.
Except for Fonita, the father-daughter tells, can't fit anywhere. So you do it outside. Hope it doesn't-
Well, I was thinking, the kids would have broken out a little bit, maybe.
Well, that's right.
Hey, how are you doing?
Then, listen,
So the problem, we looked at that, problem is that's more expensive
of course.
to do, no, not the two floors, but to do 5 of them, and then not. They all have, what do you think, when you look out, they all have.
I think each one is specific,
Yeah.
right? Like
Well, we're
one.
talking about that.
Talking about.
Yeah, you look what they.
So you want to, like, you could leave, right, the volleyball or something like that, not really use it on to maintain. Let everyone know that you can-
Assign the numbers. Oh, you did? Yeah. Okay. Like they're.
I just do the-
Yeah.
Keep
Maybe
walking.
how-
How are you?
No, no, no.
Yeah, I didn't mean that in a bad way. I'm sorry to myself.
That's what.
So she said just to fill in, she said fill in anywhere you want.
You know. That's what I was thinking in my head when it's like.
Well, I was at last night. I'm glad I was there. But yeah. Normally, they.
Yeah, I didn't know that too. Parts of it's out the road, but- Like, that's the whole thing. Like, he came out of the house, I was bored the whole time.
That's the back.
Against the band.
Oh. You're asking for amenities now.
We have to put on the city must have says quick. I mean, downtown. George. Big curve, see. Who's got my number up?
A lot of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you could hear that.
The difference in time.
I honestly don't know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are
I'm
the-
gonna space them with another one.
No, that's fine. I won't be mine. I can't say no. It's regular.
And then they test all of them.
It's on the small Alzheimer's.
Yes, maintenance, yeah.
Yeah, they're like.
Oh, you're putting. Sure.
This is. And brought in, I don't know if you got any pictures.
Oh, that's right.
This is what it was.
Okay, I'm gonna show you town hall again.
Sharing my
Yes, Sienna did great.
Yeah.
I want to be in charge of years.
No celebration.
Are you already?
Talking to normal 15 people or something. Stories. Like a movie.
Seven.
You got 2 minutes today.
Our baseball guy.
Take a picture. Not gonna be
What's it like?
Now you're confused.
Like
Now you're confused.
Well.
We're not gonna get there today, tomorrow, next year, okay? Maybe not even
41
next year.
Yeah. Exactly. Active. And everyone, every day when you two kids. So they went back. The prices. Is fairness.
No, I'm taking it.
It says other buildings. Oh, they're four, they're four.
Well, you write it there.
Because there's no place. Yeah. That's right. There's no place in Spring Lake.
No, you.
There is.
It's small.
Trying to do many messages, but the minute they don't say, we're just not telling the board.
No.
Okay, so let's.
So.
Parks and Recs was told us, they said, that was funny. Football, but we have relatively national norms,
I don't think they have.
like basketball, for instance. And some of those are
You
right
can
outside.
do that.
I you answered me on notes.
Oh, okay.
But it's nice to meet you. So there's.
Back when that we all had.
You get by the doctor.
Yeah.
So the dog comes back.
Yeah.
One match.
I
do.
I can't get it.
Too busy. The one, yeah, yes, no. Well, thank you. Yeah. They might like to say, "So it's told us."
No, but I think it's Calgary. I mean, it's not, so I think it's on the way. Someone else.
Or Krista.
That's what it
Get Susan Edgewise.
Try to put it together. They were so nicely referenced.
They have to all the buildings on a lot.
I never sit down.
Trucks are there.
I went back to Jersey.
The construction.
So.
Come in the place and say, well, rolling something.
Do it every year.
Yeah, and you get it now.
All,
Is that where you actually have more written?
Originally.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We don't need lots. But
My dad.
No, it's.
Oh, yeah, the whole.
Yes, that takes your breath away. I think the right
Let's be titled, go during the day. Because this.
Like I say.
So everyone here that's on the, what is this group called?
Village.
Pacific Green Money Line Village, group C, you're going to table C.
Spending money by village.
We already do.
New concept, new concept.
Once
Well, individual. One new service area. Capital. By village.
Do we live in the same village now?
No. Bingo.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And I support that.
No.
You got along there, that's really big.
I told my son, I said,
I would put some double gunners on. The buildings.
Think about it. The seven space, you know, in the big- so you could like- One of the ideas I have from them is- Granted, it takes the 1% less we did, right? Double number of all amounts. But the hard fees, that's what we should- you know, it's not everything.
So what's your case?
And you're solving the parking bill, but there's no- Yes. Are you This might be like last week. Good, how are you doing? Bring up the thing. There you go.
That corner, is a little courtyard, it's really pretty. I was there.
So follow me, someone can a little bit. They don't want to.
But I don't think that-
We can do that kind of auction.
Right? Because it's-
Almost have something related to what we breathe. Yeah. Makes it why.
Right now, the outside's not up. We don't have to, now, we're gonna go to the Harlem Boys Club, go to church, whatever. So next door.
Okay, so what else do we got for top? Are you?
Then you have to go. No. You have to. I said, you know, those big soccer fields you just built?
There's two down.
Now you got two soccer fields, right?
Yeah.
So you know what? Some cost. Some cost. They don't cost you nothing. So it's supposed to.
Yeah. Over it was like in the back of the head.
It's not a great location, not a bad location.
They had like
It's a
kids.
plaza.
And then you can go underneath and I have this like 5 days. Right?
We talked about the park.
Yeah, exactly.
We said, we're not gonna, we're not gonna.
Yeah.
We're not, we're about parking. We're gonna focus on the strategic vision of the town. And. Now, we're not a building, we're gonna worry about parking. We're not gonna solve the parking. Yeah, I know.
We have to do, like, and he.
And you can't build, you can't. You can't be anywhere but downtown. You can't put somebody say, putting a few in school park or
Yeah, like this, what's it? Right.
anyway, yeah, so we got.
No, it's like when the one that I there before. Like, because you should be able to. That could be an idea. You don't want to do this one.
You want to pay. We pay 100%. So I don't know, it's gonna be an option, especially if you price. I told you. CDD, when they collect taxes, 85% of it comes from residential properties, 15% of the taxes come from businesses. Okay, so whoever in business is, the guys out in Celebration, there's office bill, they pay CDD tax. So if we're gonna do something, and if you get ownership, hey, it's $12, they can do it. I was disadvantaged, you don't have to do this. But you have to do the but you gotta look at the cost. Yeah, that was so it's like. And then there's. It's
Like, so this is. Right. Take the whole round. What's the
But we're gonna do.
No, actually, they came out.
It's not what I did. They said, you know, the last 3 surveys, the last one was done.
That's why we're here.
Says we did this. Right. And that means. Because that's what the community wants. You asked us, not what I mean.
Do we want to increase?
Used to.
That'll be like.
There's not much there. You know, I think they-
I want a fountain and all. So where would I put nowhere.
Same in London, like they needed to.
It's a nice little shop.
We get these right.
It's a guy that.
Everything. Oh, this is.
Right.
Like one.
Wow.
The next thing.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, got it. Oh, yeah. It's got a basic assembly.
Out of my purse.
Wrong, I'm not.
Yeah. If I want Starburst full more often, I'm like.
The way is.
You know where West Point is. Transition. After transition.
Yeah. Well, they still make nothing here. South Village, we just want
Politician, that's one.
So.
But I recognize your name.
None of us did. So. They didn't show up. I liked it. It was delicious. But they don't show up.
Downside, you can't even see it.
So they have to go. They use it.
Everyone over here in the village specific area, you're going to table C next.
Okay.
So.
I'm learning a lot about all
Why
this.
don't we have a-
It's all-
If he plays it, what's the- why do they get paid to play?
Doing all right. Just wasn't TV. There you go.
I don't know. That's not nice to see. Yeah.
I'm all for free too.
All right. Thank you.
It just came in.
There was a outdoor gathering center. Really, I think it's like that extends from the pavilion all the way back back up to like another. And then there was another thing. Open season here. The playground area and the volleyball. The volleyball courts, at the very end of the lives. When you cross over that street, there's a grassy area that extends until you get to the playground.
I can tell you that I should have got a lot of paper there. I'm only getting like this, so. And then you keep it for a while and you throw it away. Or like in my case, you put it in the drawer and you think, what is it? And then you throw it.
There's another big patch of grass. Let's see. And there's yes, there's a bunch of bushes hiding probably a pretty big electrical thing of some sort. Go back to the property. But the Crower property is, there is a piece right next to this. Yep. So, you know, my vision, you got a basketball court downtown. You got a basketball court in North Village, you know, you should have a basketball court somewhere.
Still.
You know, in between. It's just a call, it's East Village, there's another piece of that. And then there's. Yeah, it's exactly place near Harris Hall, maybe, where there's another basketball court. Then you have kind of
triangulated area. You have basketball courts in each one. You have one downtown, you have one right. Really, yeah. This way, regardless of where people live, the kids live, every kind of village has a basketball spread.
Yeah. You know, that's a good point.
That's
Just like parks. Parks are. Parks.
blocked from any sort of, the only way for everybody to kind of get as close to consensus as possible. In other words, approval, is go on tennis line, facilities where you have amenities. Because if all the amenities seem like they're going, you're gonna have half the town that goes, well, if you impact me, I mean, that's more right where I live, I'm not on board with that.
No. We have a new piece and I just, I don't want to be the guy, that guy.
Thursday night, what's Thursday? Oh, Thursday is my grandson's.
Can't make.
We're going to Pebble.
I went out for you gotta go around and overwatch.
That's where Legoland. I don't want
It's not for sale. Well, I mean, we don't have that kind of money.
It's not benefiting them any.
They'd
They're
rather,
paying taxes on it.
they're an equity fund,
Okay.
right? So they're all the investment company. Likes it in. There was a community advisory group last year.
Right.
They looked at it.
If you do the right program, so good people will stop. If you just throw balls out, people will shoot.
So when I first moved here. They're still operating.
Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night.
We've been very open for a long time. Well, we've got stuff pounding your head. Yes. It is. Well, there's stuff that's.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
I said, watch English things. They don't want
Well, that would be.
I would say the local people. Right. Whether they get a extra.
Yeah. From the. You gotta know something about it. Right.
You know.
They're not into pouring in lots of money to make things better. They're into. So what it tells them is that all the other leases are doing really well. All the other leases are doing really well. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what I would imagine. Otherwise, that's based on my experience. That's probably.
So everybody, little things you can, the people, you know, they'll be, so I did it for years.
They're private equity. That's what they do. It's opportunity. They're losing opportunity. Exactly. We're not losing money. So you want to do a lot of money. Come over there, she's better.
I was.
I don't know. It was $100 more. I wish somebody else chair in the zoning board, it's $5 million. Turns that like. Investment of the refurbishment. These are all wood frame houses. So that's all I was doing over 5 years.
No, my son buy it. I can't buy it.
Lexington owns it.
And so I don't lease it. And put $400
Down the historical.
Right.
Yeah, it's both. Use it to the pool.
But I know, just be a lot cheaper.
Bought those pool, maybe what could we do?
So we have that space.
Lease.
That piece of land next to so that's something that should be.
It's the water.
That's something you can live there.
It's the water. It's not.
What did you know what to say?
I just want to listen.
Call their names though, so we'll be able to reach out to them.
Yes, I just.
You're still here.
Much.
Hard been suggested.
This is a good thing, but we were doing this 10 years ago, so.
Find people online.
Yeah, they can like kind of. 10 years ago. I have our team.
That's good.
Knowledge and availability.
And I would like to see peace and earth to all towns.
The
challenge is.
We need to go. We could have believed it or not. We just like. We got it for like $8 million.
Downtown?
Yeah.
But I was.
Go on. We're all set.
These guys got this. Normally.
Now they have to, the cafeteria, it's 800 and it's 600 kids.
Oh, okay.
That's, it'll be lunch at the same time.
Oh, stack.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. But, you look at
Hey.
it, this great.
Hanging out here.
Well, this is where we're supposed to be.
It's not much. The town is only gonna be 14,000. We're just waiting for the next restaurant. We're also busy.
I put it on.
Group C. Table C.
Table C.
This group is going to table C.
The old people, we couldn't like to be outside.
So that's.
Old people would be good.
That's what's great.
Don't think of this. I see. Think of the business. There's one Spring Lake,
Right,
one in Island Village.
right.
There's one in the hospital. Right? There's none in here. Yeah, on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
Okay, back to that orange elevation avenue. There's a piece of land. There's a piece of land right there next to the Grand Pavilion. And they also, all the kids are running in that grassy area. Why don't we ask them?
Have you done it?
that was.
Spots all over that road. Yes, they do. These spots you use the gathering for the to the home.
Oh.
Plus, kids, so you don't need part. Okay. Right, and you use scooters. So where's the scooters? But it's not, they're gonna talk about the fact that. All right, you're out.
I just asked. I don't know. I would love to know them too. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, but if I live in North Village and I have a family. I'm doing another jump in the car.
Diane.
Basketball. That's why I'm saying. For the people that live in downtown, they go to the field. Very cheap. Now, there's people who live in North Village, they're saying now. You know, I'm sorry, but if you live in New York City, you don't. It's all sirens, you have to go off at 3 a.m. It's what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Well, but like something about like. And I said, yeah. I can just look under lock. I don't think that you're gonna go anywhere. I feel like this is, yeah. And they don't know. Yeah. They don't get translated. That's not in there. One site in this valley that is official and monitored, not one.
Is that part of
How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, good.
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 Yeah, you're right. Right now, we still have that same thing about the kids' school from the way.
No, that's what they did. They just did.
Starting Joe,
Good, and yourself?
you know, let's go to.
Well, Michelle.
Couldn't say it.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know who it was.
In your case, sir, that.
That person.
To talk about people.
Got it.
Now they have multiple walk through.
Never leave it. Yes, it's a tiny window.
A lot of fun, but
Now that it's noise.
it's actually banger.
You know, I don't.
Go to 9, then you have.
I had wondered if there was any possibility of.
There's a lot of me and a lot of you.
Well,
It used to be you get money. You'll have enough.
Not the multi-generation. That's why you have.
Okay. Many kids.
Yeah. The very first thing is we need architects. A training. They know that we need to tell them how
Really good. I built a team for you. I'll charge you $150. If you don't see the user, everybody. So, you have at least 150. It's not two ways. We help and we help. Actually, like, I am listening.
It's up there. So my point is.
That's what it was, yeah.
That was.
Show that on Monday and Thursday because more residents over 30, over 40.
That's what I said.
Play for free. If you want to put $3, $5, $8, whatever. If you want to contribute, it's fine. If you want to contribute nothing, just go and play.
I played something.
I
used to when I was a kid, but
Oh, you can come and play with us. No,
like,
play Mondays and let me tell you, to play on Mondays and Thursdays, you must have belly and a knee surgery. You play about that because you are old guys having fun over there. But I agree on Tuesdays, some Wednesdays, Thursdays, it's higher. Our high school is going there. We have the city there as well.
okay, okay.
There we are. So we have something fun. A little city.
Good. Not too much, but
And some pot.
We also.
I felt like that. Because I would have. I'm flexible. I'm gonna have to.
They have that every single day. I spend one morning.
Yeah. You can't do it. If it's like, so. Trainers.
As well, whenever that's and everybody. The best part is we are working with.
Yeah. But they're probably in the library.
No, I know.
What was the?
They were paying.
Well, you see, now that auxiliary, that is.
But it wasn't.
Well, see, the people that.
yes, absolutely, you will. Oh, somewhere.
I mean. I haven't heard of many of the writers group at the library.
It's never feels what I'm looking for. So I'm like.
Yes. There's not even a closing. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, of course. When you're just social. So like you're talking about, yes, you're gonna have to pay. And so, but if I wanted like, every night, I wanna have. Everybody want to talk about.
Well, that is.
Right.
And if you go down home and say, we would like to have a book club, they give you that Friday. They do it. Like, if you wanted to have a book club here, for the open to the whole house.
I know when I first was here, when you go park here, downtown.
You're not quite.
We hate it, like, it's fun support. And yet for the whole house, but they need somebody. That's the whole time.
I probably drove a night back to get out here.
Would be you.
I didn't realize. We're done. We're welcome to go.
All right.
Beat the rush. Oh, that sounds.
It's long way, that's like last year, because get gas in the water.
Your insurance reports.
Nice to meet you. Now it's getting to wait. Yeah, we don't. Actually, fundraise. And I think that's the last one. Randy years ago.
What is it?
I mean, you're the other side, so.
Oh, yeah.